Lesson 60, Influencing Government, Part 2. Let's begin with Citizens United and Super PACs. The controversial Supreme Court case involving campaign spending is called the Citizens United case. It's a 2010 case, Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission, 2010. The Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that the First Amendment prohibited the government from restricting political independent spending by corporations, associations, or labor unions, or other interest groups. That it was a violation of those groups' free speech to put restrictions on their independent spending. That means that independent groups can spend whatever they want to spend on campaigns. No spending limits. After 2010, these groups were called Super PACs, formed to spend money during elections to support or defeat candidates. Raise unlimited sums of money, corporations, unions, associations, individuals. Then spend unlimited sums to overtly advocate for or against political candidates. Unlike traditional political action committees, Super PACs are prohibited from donating money directly to political candidates, and their spending must be coordinated with that of the candidates that they benefit. They cannot, I'm going to stress this, make sure I'm clear on this, they cannot coordinate their spending. They cannot directly donate money to political candidates, nor coordinate what they spend with the spending of the candidates. Take a look at some of the Super PACs, the more notable Super PACs. This is a 2012 election cycle, but these PACs are still around today. American Crossroads is a really big conservative Super PAC. Karl Rove, supporter of George W. Bush in those years, heads the American Crossroads Super PAC. Americans for Prosperity is another major big Super PAC headed by the Koch brothers, David H. Koch, Charles G. Koch. Crossroads GPS, American Future Fund, Winning Our Future, Americans for Job Security. Now you take a look at these Super PACs. Most of them, as you can see, support Republican candidates or the conservative agenda of the top Super PACs. Only a couple are Democrat. Most of these are red. The top spending Super PACs. Pay to play. Some worry that candidates feel they owe special favors to those who contributed to their campaigns. Interest groups also want to influence public opinion. Many target potential members by using subscriber or membership mailing lists from magazines or groups with similar views. Propaganda, in an attempt to promote a particular person or idea. Propaganda techniques would include endorsements, card stacking, the bandwagon, glittering generalities, symbols, just plain folks, name calling. We take a look at this chart. Types of propaganda techniques, name calling. President Trump, in his use of Twitter feed, has come up with nicknames for his political opponents, branding them in some fashion. Very effective with Crooked Hillary and Crazy Bernie and Little Marco and Lion Ted and Pocahontas, and the list goes on. He was very effective. during the Republican nomination process, and then during the general election campaign as well, and even now as president. Rocket Man, little Rocket Man. Endorsements would be when a popular personality, maybe a Hollywood personality or sports personality, endorses the campaign or the cause and try to lend support for that campaign or that cause. Politicians speak in glittering generalities. I'm the candidate who will bring us peace and prosperity, make America great again, America first. I don't really talk in specifics about how that's going to happen, but if you just elect me, you're going to, your life's going to improve. The bandwagon. Polls show us ahead. We expect to win in a landslide, winning by a large margin. You don't want to support a loser, support us. Join our campaign. We get the momentum. Just plain folks, this is probably the most ridiculous of the propaganda techniques, as millionaires try to present themselves as ordinary people, understanding the ordinary needs of the voters. My parents were ordinary, hardworking people. They taught me these values. I'm a plain folk just like you, which in reality, most of these elected officials in the Congress, particularly the Senate, and running for president, they're millionaires. They're not plain folks, but they try to present themselves. Again, the term now used is populism. They're populists. Stack cards. It's basically when you run on your record. Canada A has the best record on the environment, so support me because I've been able to accomplish this while I've been in the Congress. I've sponsored this legislation, or I've supported this. It's probably not a bad propaganda technique at all. Symbols. You wrap yourself up in the American flag. Pledge of Allegiance, national anthem. You wear the little flag pin on the lapel of your jacket because you're a true patriot. You're a true American. You wrap yourself up in that symbol. Just recognize these propaganda techniques when you see them displayed by candidates and by politicians in office. Money in politics. There are 4 parts to any campaign: the candidate, the issues, the campaign organization, and money. Without money, you can forget the other 3. That's the late Speaker of the House from Massachusetts, Tip O'Neill. Money. What about money? We talked about Citizens United, leading to the development of super PACs. But most campaign funding comes from private sources, individuals, party organizations, corporations, interest groups. Now, there are limits to campaigns. No limits on super PACs in terms of running ads. But giving to a campaign, you're limited at $2,300 per campaign, $28,000 to the national committee, $10,000 to a state and local party, $42,700 to all candidates, and $65,000 to political action committees and parties total. Now, the national party can give $5,000 to each candidate, $39,000 to Senate candidates per campaign. No limit to state and local parties. Political parties can raise an unlimited amount of money. They're supposed to use that money for general expenses. Political action committees can contribute towards campaigns. Again, these are not PACs. These are just straight political action committees. Not super PACs, I should say. Super PACs. But political action committees can donate to campaigns political parties, national committee, state and local parties. The presidential election campaign fund, by checking a box on your income tax returns, you can donate $3 of your tax dollars to help fund presidential campaigns. Candidates can qualify for these federal funds if they raise $100,000 on their own or $5,000 in at least 20 states. But if they agree to use these funds, they must limit the spending of their own money. Otherwise, there is no limit in the spending of your own money. You can spend whatever you want to spend of your own money on your campaign. The Supreme Court has ruled that would be a limitation of free speech if that was happened. Assuming members of Congress spent 40 hours a week focusing on finding funds, House members would need to raise, on average, about $367 an hour, and senators would have to come up with about $819 an hour. That's if they spent 40 hours a week trying to raise money for their campaigns. That's how ridiculous campaign spending is. And that will conclude our lesson on influencing government, Part 2, Lesson 60.